Welcome into PFF Free Agency Live. We had to pivot because the news is coming in fast. Tom Brady is no longer going to be a member of the New England Patriots. He just, as all announcements happen, announced it on Instagram, thanking Patriots Nation for 20 years. Starting with you, Mike, what does this mean? Tom Brady moving on from New England.
I can't help but, be like anyone who's not a Patriots fan right now and kind of be happy, be excited about what's to come because, the reign is over. I think it's what everyone's kind of thinking right now, that Belichick-Brady duo, we're finally free from it. And he's going to go elsewhere. And he could go, he has his probably pick of the litter in terms of situations right now. There's a lot of teams out there, the Chargers, the Colts, the Bucks, with fairly good situations for a quarterback that need a quarterback. And so I think Brady, he'll be making the rounds in the coming weeks to, see who's going to court him the most.
Well, Steve, I got to tell you, I like it if Tom Brady is going to land with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because I think that's a team that's poised for launch. I think that Tom Brady will just light it up. I think teamed up with the offensive weapons of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, of a defense that was really one of the best coverage defenses by the time we got to the second half of the season in 2019. Third best in our PFF grading system was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary in the final 8 games of the season. So offense and defense is there. This team, the Bucs, they were number one in terms of average depth of target at 10.9 yards per pass attempt. Tom Brady ranked 27th last year with the Patriots. Now, it's not because of Tom Brady. He didn't have Mike Evans or Chris Godwin to throw to. I think he'll go there and he will light it up. I think he'll have some new life when it comes to his career. The 21st season of Tom Brady's career, I think, can be an exceptional one if he lands in Tampa.
Yeah, Solly, you saw the grades that we put up there, too. He went from first in 2017 to fourth in 2018 and then 12th last year. The drop-off wasn't as steep maybe as the numbers would have showed. You mentioned all the playmakers, whether it's Tampa Bay. I have some questions about the system, the Arian system that hasn't changed for any quarterback. Is Brady really suited for that downfield passing attack? But they have the weapons. The Chargers have the weapons as well. They just franchised Hunter Henry. You've got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. There are a couple interesting situations where I think Brady can still perform. Now the question, though, turns, everybody's talking about Brady, but what about the Patriots? What do? They also have $13.5 million of dead cap space for Tom Brady. This is just un-Patriots-like in general, having dead money, and also for the first time since really 1993, they have a question mark at quarterback.
I think this is, I'm not going to say bottom out. With Bill Belichick and what they have defensively, they're probably still going to be in the 8-win range, but I think this is how the Patriots, this is a rebuild for the Patriots, and it probably won't be too long. It probably won't take them too long to get back to the top, but this next season, I don't see how it can go anywhere other than, missing the playoffs. And this is good for the rest of the AFC East, unless they obviously get back into the QB sweepstakes with the Phillip Rivers, with someone else on the market. But I just think they're in a bad situation roster-wise at the moment that it might not be good for a year or two.
And guys, we might have to really just resign ourselves to understanding that's one of the reasons why Tom Brady is moving on. I think he could see players like Jamie Collins not coming back, Kyle Van Noy not coming back. He felt that the roster was inadequate and not suited for a championship run at least 1 year ago. And what moves have they made so far to prove that this team or the roster will improve in 2020? So I think it became clear for him that maybe it was time to move on if he wanted an opportunity to try to win a championship in the upcoming season. As for the New England Patriots, the names we're hearing, like Andy Dalton, $17 million on the final year of his contract in 2020. He still is property of the Cincinnati Bengals. A trade would have to be made in order to acquire him. It'll be very interesting, but you're right. This team is probably going to struggle in 2020. Tom Brady covered up a lot of warts from one season ago, and now many of those are about to be exposed.
All right, we could spend the entire show talking about Tom Brady, but some other big news did happen last night as well. The wide receiver market took a few turns. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. They signed Amari Cooper, 5 years, $100 million. Starting with you, Mike, do you like the move? And is this one that Dallas just had to make at this point?
I don't like it just for what you said right there. They were forced their hand into making this move because they traded a first rounder for him, because they couldn't get a deal done before this. And after, obviously we know the sunk cost fallacy here at PFF. We're not going to succumb to the fact that that first rounder is gone. There's no getting it back. But to fans, Cowboys fans, if they let Amari Cooper walk after trading a first rounder for him, there would be hell to pay. So they had to get it done. Basically, they were going to have to match or beat any other offer out there. And so that just bid up his price so high to $20 million a year over 5 years, far more than you would have liked to have paid Amari Cooper. But again, they forced their hand into the situation. Obviously, you're keeping a good player, but you're keeping him for a big, big price tag.
I said that I'm going to go ahead and say I like this move. However, I don't like the way that it's all materialized. And I agree with you, Mike. I think they've kind of gotten things done sort of haphazardly, sort of out of desperation. It's almost as if they have no plan. When they went and got him in 2018 and made the trade and gave up the first round pick, sent it to Oakland and acquired Amari Cooper, they knew this date was coming. Why could you have not signed Amari Cooper to a much team-friendly deal ahead of time? They wait till the 11th hour to get that deal done, and only after putting the franchise tag on Dak Prescott, where they're also acting out of desperation. The Cowboys seem to be more reactive than proactive, and they're going to pay the highest price for Ezekiel Elliott, the highest price for Amari Cooper, and ultimately the highest price for Dak Prescott. This price tag next to Dak Prescott, it doesn't go down. As time goes on, it just continues to go up. It's almost as if they're waiting for him to fail so they can get a discount. That's not going to happen. So I'm going to say that I like the fact that they're able to keep him, but the lengths they had to go through to keep him, that's what I don't like.
Yeah, I have to agree with both of you guys on this. It shouldn't have come to this. In Solly, they were proactive with the wrong guy, with Zeke Elliott. They were proactive with the running back. Right. Amari Cooper is the guy that has changed that offense. They were a top 5 caliber offense last year. I know they didn't win a ton of games, but if they just go status quo next year, they're probably a 10-win team. Like, they were good last year. They just had a few bad breaks. So as far as what it's actually going to do on the field, Amari Cooper is a game changer for that offense. You pair him with Michael Gallup. It's a great combination. That's how Dak had that excellent season last year. But yeah, it never really should have come to this. So I like that he's back, but I'm with you guys. It ended up costing a little bit too much. What about Stefon Diggs now? We've got Stefon Diggs moving from the Minnesota Vikings to the Buffalo Bills. And are we talking AFC East favorite Buffalo Bills now? Like, this whole thing has changed.
Who's going to throw him the ball? I mean, who's going to throw Josh? I mean, we know Josh Allen is a player. 2020 is going to be a significant year for his career. It's kind of a prove-it year, so he has to become more accurate. This does give him another weapon on that offense that struggled to score touchdowns in the second half of the season. We know that the Bills have a defense that's capable of maybe even unseating the Patriots now that they're without Tom Brady. Stefon Diggs' arrival at Orchard Park, I think, allows the Bills to take that next step. I really like this for the Vikings because the Vikings have to do some retooling in their secondary. We know that Mike Zimmer wants to add corners. He may not want to use the first-round pick, or at least not the one first-round pick they had prior before making this move. But this does now give them an additional first-round pick. We know that they can get receivers in this upcoming draft class, but they can also add, I think, a top-notch corner to replace the likes of Xavier Rhodes and Trey Wayne. So I like this move for the Vikings because they can acquire a player at that same position in the 2020 draft.
I think it's a win for both teams, and it's because of the cap situations both are in. The Vikings right up against the cap, don't have room to manipulate or do much in terms of sign free agents, add talent to that roster that, just wasn't enough last year to win a Super Bowl. And they already give, Kirk Cousins that extension. So they're going to be up against it for a few years here. They move on from Diggs' big deal, free up some space. and get a first rounder in a draft that is very talented at the wide receiver position. Yes, you're not going to have Stefon Diggs right away, but in 2 years, depending on who you draft, you could have a guy similarly talented. So from their perspective, it makes a ton of sense. But also from the Bills' perspective, it makes a ton of sense because whoever you draft as a rookie is probably not going to hit the ground running the way Stefon Diggs is. Like, Stefon Diggs is a known quantity. You know you're getting a number one type of wide receiver who can separate down the football field. You pair him with John Brown, and that opens up this Bills offense to be a deep downfield passing offense consistently. Now, can Josh Allen hit them? Different conversation altogether, but at least if he can't, then you know you have to move on from the quarterback position if he does not succeed this year, because they finally have all the pieces around him that he should be able to succeed. So it makes sense from both sides.
Yeah, Josh Allen, he may be a bottom third quarterback right now, despite all the wins last year. But if you have Josh Allen, this is the way to, get him to play a little bit better, or at least produce, so he doesn't have to be Tom Brady. He doesn't have to be Drew Brees. This might be the best all-around receiving core in the entire NFL with Stefon Diggs, the route runner. Mike, you mentioned John Brown stretching the field, Cole Beasley in the slot, Dawson Knox as an emerging tight end. It's great. So a bunch of playmakers, Josh Allen's rushing ability. Even if Josh Allen's not perfect, this is a very difficult team to defend. And yeah, the Bills, the way their defense has played the last couple of years, I think they're the favorite now in the AFC East until we figure out what the quarterback situation is for the New England Patriots. And then sticking with the AFC East, we have Byron Jones, the top cornerback on our free agent board, going to the Dolphins. Huge money for the cornerback. They're going to play a ton of man coverage there. Mike, was this the right move for the Dolphins as part of their rebuild?
It was definitely the right move. And you say huge money for the cornerback there. It was less than Eric Armstead got yesterday. It was less than DeForest Buckner got yesterday. And I'd rather have Byron Jones 10 times out of 10 than those two guys with what he does, shutting down his side of the field. You go to a Miami defense that is man coverage heavy, one of the most man heavy defenses in the NFL. Pair him with Xavier Howard there on the other side. And all of a sudden you have two guys match up sort of cornerback weapons to run Brian Flores' scheme. And we've talked about it, cornerback, the second most valuable position in football after QB. To have two good ones, you give yourself a high floor defense. Like, you are going to be good in pass defense next year when you have two cornerbacks that high quality. So yes, they had to pay a lot of money for it, but I'd rather have given Byron Jones what he got than given some of the other cornerbacks what they got in free agency.
Well, Mike, I got to go the other way on this one. I don't like it. And I like Byron Jones. I just know that what the Dolphins want to do defensively, they want to run a lot of man-to-man coverage. Much like the New England Patriots, they run a lot of zero coverage. That means the corners are going to be isolated in man coverage. Byron Jones is never graded above 80 when it comes to our coverage grades with our PFF system. He has to be better at that position. He's always been maybe a hybrid between safety, corner. I think he's more suited for a system that runs a high volume of zone coverages where he can read and react and have vision in at the quarterback, not where his back is turned to the quarterback and has to play blind in man-to-man coverage or in zero coverage. And that's why his grades have really reflected a number that's, say, below 80 in terms of his coverage grade. So, listen, he's a very good player, phenomenal athlete. We were all wowed with what he was able to do at the scouting combine. But if we're honest, we would say his play has never really lived up to maybe the overall athleticism that we've seen from a Byron Jones. So very good player. I like him as a player. I think the dollar value there is a little bit high, even though they had the money to give under the salary cap. Now they have the top paid corners, two of them in their secondary. And I don't know that any of those players, Xavier Howard or Byron Jones, have ever lived up to that salary amount.
Yeah, the money thing's a good point, Solly. I think what I have to say, though, on Xavier Howard in any given day could look like Richard Sherman, or he could look like a bad Big 12 corner. He's kind of all over the place. I think this kind of frees him up, though, right? I mean, when you have a guy like Byron Jones, who, look, he's going to get beat, but he's still one of the best corners in the NFL. Even if he's not, a Richard Sherman or Darrelle Revis type, he's still one of the best. And when you pair him with Xavier Howard, it takes a little bit of pressure off of Howard. And we know that's the Patriots system going down there with Brian Flores. They do like to play a ton of man, as you said, but they also like to game plan and match up against specific receivers. Byron Jones could even cover tight ends when they need to. I think he adds a game plan weapon as well, not just an outside corner there for the Dolphins.
Can I add just one thing? If your coverage grade is not higher than 80 and you're running primarily cover 2 zones in Dallas, that's if his best grades were below 80 in zone coverage. And now he's going to be playing an increasingly amount of man-to-man coverage. It's going to be difficult to see those grades go any higher.
It's a lot of pressure on him, but it still comes down to what are your alternatives? You got to be able to cover. You got to cover all those Bills receivers, the favorite in the AFC East. A lot of guys to cover now. Dolphins and Bills elevating in the East. All right, let's wrap it up with the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to bring in Marcus Mariota to do the Ryan Tannehill thing, right? He's going to come in and be the backup to an established starter, Derek Carr. Is this a signing where we're going to see Marcus Mariota actually see the field? Is he going to pull the Ryan Tannehill, come in and outperform Derek Carr? Does it put a little pressure on Derek Carr now in Las Vegas? John Gruden's neighbor, by the way.
I don't see it. Like I understand. I will get on board, take as many shots at the quarterback position as you can. And signing a guy like Mariota, who people thought had so much promise coming out of Oregon, had shown some flashes in some games over the course of his career. But now you've gone 3 different OCs that he's had, all tried to get, the most out of him. None ever could really necessarily do it. I think the offense that's best suited for him does not look like what, John Gruden's necessarily running there out in Las Vegas in terms of you need to utilize his legs as a rushing threat. Like that has to be a part of it to succeed. And yes, you could scheme that for him, but if Derek Carr is in front of him, you're not going to be changing up your offense to have that just with Marcus Mariota as your backup. So I don't foresee a Tannehill-esque sort of, explosion coming anytime soon. But again, I'm not going to hate on a team taking a chance on a quarterback that, again, people thought had so much promise at one point in time.
You tell me who the teacher for the quarterback is, and I'll tell you whether or not we're going to get improvement for the quarterback. And I know in this case it's John Gruden, but we all know John Gruden very well. His favorite quarterback is the next quarterback. I don't see the stability there that's going to really help Marcus Mariota become this quarterback that we all thought he would become. In fact, Derek Carr was the quarterback we thought he would become until John Gruden got there. And now there's all of these, there's just too much inconsistency. And now I think his confidence has been undermined. And Derek Carr is no longer as good a quarterback as he once was prior to John Gruden's arrival. And so that's what typically happens when John is working with quarterbacks. He's going to continue to shuttle quarterbacks through there. No quarterback, whether it's Mariota or Derek Carr, is going to ever feel like they have the support and confidence of the coach to gain enough consistency to really gain command of the football team, unless they bring in a tried and true veteran who will push back a little bit. Marcus Mariota is not that personality type. I think he has the talent. I think he even has the temperament. He's got to be paired with the right coach. I don't see this as a good fitting, and that's why I'm taking this one as a dislike.
I'm going to say I like it for a couple of reasons. Agreeing with Mike, hey, keep taking shots at the quarterback position. You also never know. The Raiders also right now have the best backup quarterback in the NFL. I think there's no doubting that. Mariota is still probably a top 32 quarterback in the world. So he's the best backup in the NFL right now. I'm also going to say if Derek Carr is going to maximize his potential, he needs to be more aggressive. That guy could put a highlight reel together as well as any quarterback in the NFL throwing down the field, yet he checks down like he's Alex Smith. I'm wondering if he could have an Alex Smith-like rejuvenation. Mariota's not Patrick Mahomes, but having that other QB in the room might get a little more aggressiveness out of Derek Carr, show off that arm, and quit checking down, have a nice explosive offense in Las Vegas, especially if they draft some of those really good receivers.
You mean like the quarterback he was before Gruden arrived when he used to throw it down the field? I want to see that Derek Carr.
He's always had a little bit. I mean, yeah, there was a point in 2016 where it looked like Carr could be the next great quarterback because of his connection with Amari Cooper and his ability to throw down the field. Mike, double up at receiver in this draft for the Raiders. Get Carr some weapons and watch him unleash it down the field.
Yeah, definitely. If they get a Henry Ruggs or a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb fall to them, that has to be the pick at 12, I'd say.
All right, so there it is. It's PFF Free Agency Live. We'll be here throughout the day. Don't forget that promo code PFF2020. You're going to get 25% off every PFF subscription this week. Stick with us all week for PFF Free Agency.